Today, we will hear the testimony of Mr. or former Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo. Kindly stand up so your oath will be administered by the Director General of the group.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding? Thank you. You may take your seat.
Thank you. Are you ready to make your statement?
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
You may proceed.
Dear Senator Lacson and honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, I am Roberto Bernardo, formerly an Undersecretary for Operations of the Department of Public Works and Highways, DPWH. I was summoned to appear today before the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee and required to testify in connection with its ongoing inquiry in aid of legislation into the reported anomalies in certain DPWH projects, flood control projects. Bago ko po ilahad ang aking nalalaman sa mga bagay na nais tumbukin ng kagalang-galang na Blue Ribbon Committee, ako po ay umaamin sa aking maling nagawa. Ako po ay hindi naging matatag at tapat sa pagpapatupad ng tungkulin na ipinagkatiwala sa akin ng ating pamahalaan at sambayanan. Taus-puso at puno ng pagsisisi na ako po ay humihingi ng kapatawaran sa Diyos, sa ating bansa at mga kababayan, gayon din sa aking pamilya, mga kaibigan at sa lahat ng aking binigo. Nakagawa po ako ng pagkakamali at pinahintulutan ko po ang aking sarili na maging kasangkapan sa pagpapatupad ng isang masamang gawain. Handa po akong gawin ang lahat ng nararapat upang maiwasto ang aking kamalian at maiwasan na ito'y mangyaring muli. I wish to assure the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee of my full cooperation with the investigation. I am submitting an affidavit outlining my knowledge and of and involvement in certain events material to the subject of investigation. Moreover, I will disclose and expound on related incidents within my personal knowledge, mindful not only of the materiality of my testimony, but also of my rights, as well as fearful of what effects my disclosures will have on my family's safety and well-being. I have applied before the Department of Justice for coverage as a state witness under Republic Act number 6981, otherwise known as Witness Protection, Security and Benefit Act. I hope the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee will find merit in my application and favorably endorse the same to the DOJ. With the assurance of the Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee that my rights and benefits under RA 6981 shall be respected, I am prepared to submit the aforesaid affidavit to Honorable Blue Ribbon Committee and swear to and testify on the same, with the approval of the Honorable DOJ Secretary on the disclosure thereof for such purposes. The highly sensitive nature of the disclosures made in my affidavit cannot be stressed enough. These deal with involvement in irregularities of 4 senators and 1 congressman, 1 member of a constitutional commission, and 1 undersecretary, seriously undermining public trust in 2 out of 3 branches of our government and a constitutional body, thereby posing a significant threat to our national security as it may lead to political instability, which may weaken the ability of the government to function effectively. 25 of September 2025, Makati City, Metro Manila. And this, Mr. Chair, signed na po ito.
Okay. May we hear from Secretary Remulla since he mentioned about his application for admission into the program?
Your Honor, we will have to evaluate his statements in relation to all the other testimonies that we have gathered in the DOJ and in the Blue Ribbon Committee.
The Senate President,
Mr. Chairman,
Guteza.
yeah. We would like to listen to your sworn affidavit, if you have one, or an affidavit that you will swear to complete the disclosure that you're talking about. Otherwise, those are mere general statements. Please, thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to read the
Yes, you may proceed, Usec Bernardo.
affidavit? I, Roberto R. Bernardo, Filipino, of legal age, a resident of Malolos City, Bulacan, under oath, deposed and state. In connection with the ongoing Senate Blue Ribbon Committee investigations, I intend to submit this affidavit which provides details of my knowledge about matters within my jurisdiction relating to flood control projects when I was still serving as Undersecretary for Operations of the Department of Public Works and Highways. This affidavit lays out details.
Sorry, excuse me. You have your counsel now with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, po,
Okay,
Mr.
on
Chair.
record. Okay.
This affidavit lays out details of the involvement of legislators as well as other government officials with a commitment on my part to expand these disclosures as my best recollection of facts and records may serve. Since number three, since the received an invitation to appear in these proceedings, I began collating, vetting, and consolidating all written communications, documents, tables, and matrices, and lists in my possession, the retrieval of which has been difficult since I retired from public service last August 2025. With the benefit of more time and greater freedom to access files, I am confident that I can provide even more material and relevant evidence that would clarify the issues once and for all. Number 4, more importantly, I am executing and submitting this affidavit with my full and absolute consent as an integral part of my application to be admitted under the Witness Protection Program through the favorable recommendations of the Honorable Chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, Senator Ping Lacson, and the Honorable Senate President, Tito Soto, under Section 4, as well as Section 10 of Republic Act Number 6981, otherwise known as Witness Protection, Security, and Benefit Act before the Department of Justice. I attest and confirm that the names, dates, and transactions mentioned hereunder are based on my direct personal knowledge and have ample documentary support where necessary or desirable if given full opportunity to retrieve the same. Background facts. I earned my bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering in 1984. I'm a registered civil engineer by profession. In the year 1985, I began my 40-year stint in the DPWH as a laborer. I then climbed the ranks through the years as Associate Civil Engineer, Engineer 2, Engineer 3, and as Assistant District Engineer, Assistant Regional Director. I then became Assistant Regional Director CESO 4 sometime in 2012 until my appointment as Assistant Secretary in 2016. I finally became Undersecretary more than a year later and remained such until my retirement on August 2025. I met former District Engineer Henry Alcantara during my assignment in the Laguna 2nd District Engineering Office. Engineer Alcantara, Engineer Bryce Hernandez, Engineer J.P. Mendoza, and Engineer Algie Jumasig all belong to the Bulacan 1st DEO. 2020-2040 scheme. Sometime after the State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. in July 2025, and while I was already on sick leave, I heard from Secretary Bunoan for the first time that Engineer Alcantara, Engineer Hernandez, Engineer Mendoza, and Engineer Dumasig were engaged in contracting activities using the licenses of other contractors. Subsequently, Engineer Hernandez confirmed this arrangement through one of the legislative hearings and by other contractors whose license they used. According to Bryce Hernandez, their sharing is 20-20-20-40% from these activities. My understanding is that they had prepared and signed documents for purposes of collecting payments, which they then apportioned the profits amongst themselves. However, I must admit that I have no personal knowledge on the exact actions they took to accomplish this scheme, and I can only be asked general questions on the systems in place that would have allowed this modus operandi to happen. I categorically state that I have neither knowledge nor participation in these business activities, which were entirely done by Engineer Alcantara, Engineer Hernandez, Engineer Mendoza, and Engineer Dumasig on their own. Ghost projects. At about the same time, after the 2025 SONA, I also heard for the first time that aside from the 2020-2040 scheme, were flood control projects, ghost projects, for which Engineer Alcantara, Engineer Hernandez, Engineer Mendoza, and Engineer Dumasig were also responsible. These were confirmed later by Secretary Bunaan during a separate legislative hearings. I called up Engineer Alcantara to ask him about these flood control ghost projects. He denied any participation. Subsequently, he likewise told me that he even convened the officers of Bulacan 1st DEO to confront them about these ghost projects, and that some officers, it was Engineer Hernandez, who was the primary person responsible for the same. In the exact words of Engineer Alcantara, si Bryce po yan. I categorically state that I have neither knowledge nor participation in these flood control ghost projects. Congressman Zaldico. My personal knowledge regarding Congressman Zaldico are set out as follows. Congressman Zaldico one time called me to say that he met Engineer Alcantara and wanted to confirm, maayos bang kausap si Engineer Alcantara? To which I replied, maayos po. Engineer Alcantara then told me that Kong Zaldico was asking for a 25% commission, and out of that amount, 2% was to be shared equally between Engineer Alcantara and myself. In his exact words, boss, hati na tayo sa 2%. Furthermore, Engineer Alcantara would tell me every time that he made deliveries of cash to Congressman Zaldico in compliance with his commitment to Congressman Zaldico. In this affidavit, I shall mention my personal knowledge regarding Senator Chis Escudero as follows. Maynard Ngu and I are close friends, and we go years back. He is also a close friend and campaign contributor of Senator Chis Escudero. Maynard Ngu asked me to submit a list of projects. I personally submitted a list of projects to Maynard Ngu, and some of the items therein pertaining to Valenzuela and Marinduque projects were subsequently included in the General Appropriations Act. A copy of the list of Valenzuela and Marinduque projects is here to attach to this affidavit as Annex A. When I gave him the list and in relation to the commitment, I asked him, Boss, paano to? Maynard replied, bahala ka na. I asked, Boss, okay na ba ang 20%? Maynard said, okay. After inclusion of the projects in the GAA, I delivered 20% of approximately 800 million or about 160 million to Maynard Ngu, which was meant for Senator Escudero. Finally, I would like to add that deliveries of cash were personally made to me, by me, to Maynard Ngu at his office in Manila. I confirm that Commissioner Lipana requested that he be referred to officers of DPWH Bulacan 1st DEO. I referred to Engineer Bryce Hernandez. I have no personal knowledge if they were able to secure a project in Bulacan 1st DEO. Furthermore, and subject to possible referral to an executive session upon the approval of the Honorable Chairman, I attest to the broader systemic issues in DPWH that are widespread. My statements hereunder are based on personal knowledge and direct interactions with the personalities involved with great risk to my safety and that of my family members. I confirm the following. Usec Olivar of DepEd. Usec Olivar used to work for Senator Ramon Bong Revilla and Senator Sani Angara before his appointment as Usec for the Department of Education. Sometime 2010, I met for the first time Usec Olayvar, who was then working in the office of Senator Bong Revilla. Later, I learned that he transferred to the office of Senator Edgardo Angara and then later to Senator Sani Angara. Sometime 2024, Usec Olayvar personally called me for a meeting to discuss about unprogrammed appropriations, supposedly for the office of the Executive Secretary. In the said meeting, he requested me to submit a list of projects. After the meeting, I asked Bulacan First DEO to prepare a list of projects for funding. Thereafter, Engineer Alcantara submitted a list of projects worth 2.85 billion. Here to attach as Annex B is a list of those projects. Subsequently, I submitted this list to Usec Olayvar. Usec Olayvar told me that the commitment is 15%. In his words, boss, 15 yan. Thereafter, the DPWH received a special allotment release order for 2.85 billion for the projects listed in Annex B. Engineer Alcantara, from time to time, would collect and deliver the agreed 15% commitment to me, which I delivered or caused to be delivered to Usec Olayvar in Magallanes, Makati, and other places. Senator Ramon Bong Revilla. Sometime in the year 2024, Senator Revilla and I met where I gave him a list of projects given to me by Engineer Alcantara. Senator Revilla asked for a commitment, which I suggested. Then he approved at 25% of the total amount of the projects indicated in the list here to attach as Annex C. I relayed the 25% commitment to Engineer Alcantara and told him that Senator Revilla will appreciate additional contributions for his senatorial re-election bid. Engineer Alcantara collected the 25% commitment, or about 125 million, which was turned over to me and then delivered to Senator Revilla in his house in Cavite. Senator Nancy Binay. Sometime in the year 2024, Carlin Villa, a staff of trusted confidant of Senator Binay, called me and asked for a commitment which was set at 15% of the total amount of the projects indicated in the list here to attach as Annex D. I relayed the 15% commitment to Engineer Alcantara. Engineer Alcantara collected 15% commitment, or about 37 million, which was turned over to me and which I then delivered to Senator Binay at a house in Quezon City. Given the complexities of the transactions and personalities involved, I humbly reserve the right to submit a supplementary affidavit if warranted in the premises. I attest to the truth of the foregoing statements based on my personal knowledge and authentic records. In witness or hope, I will be affixing my signature this day of September 2025 here. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, kindly sign your affidavit in the presence of everybody.
Here, Mr. Chair, I have already signed it.
For the record, you signed the same affidavit that you read, no?
Yes po,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Maraming salamat, Usec. Secretary Remulla is recognized.
Your Honor, after hearing his affidavit and his willingness to disclose all other details about the transactions that happened under his watch, may I respectfully ask the committee to allow the DOJ to have an evaluation of Mr. Bernardo immediately. This matter has to be done because of the gravity of the situation and the fact that we may have to really work overtime on legal matters that are needed, or necessary legal matters, so that we can preserve the monies and other things that are involved in this discussion.
Thank you, Secretary Remulla. Will you be open to answer some questions addressed to the Secretary of Justice before you leave? Just like the last time. No, not to Usec Bernardo, but to the Secretary for some clarificatory questions. I mean, to the Secretary of the OJ, not to the affiant. Because you have to bring him back after lunch, no? Not to you, but Secretary Remulla. Will
Yes,
you
po.
be willing to, not Usec Bernardo? I'm referring my question to Secretary Remulla. If you're willing to accommodate just a few questions from the members, if they're
Yes, Your Honor. Of course,
okay.
Your Honor.
So we'll start with whoever. Senator Erwin Tulfo is first on the list. Kindly limit your questions to, in the meantime, no, to Secretary Remulla. Mamaya na lang yung kay Undersecretary Bernardo. Meron. Anybody? You have some questions?
The same naman lang rin, Mr. Chair, na